Hi, I'm Mariah Akers,
And I'm Jen Merrill, and this is the Crooked Fence Podcast.
where we share our homestead chronicles, lessons, and tales from New England.
By the crooked fence they meet, tales of grit and dreams complete. Fireside whispers, wisdom lent, homestead hearts forever bent.
This is episode 1. So tell me a bit about yourself, Mariah.
Well, just to give you reference, I grew up on a farm, very small farm. We had poultry and horses and turkeys and one sheep.
Mm-hmm. One lonely sheep.
One lonely sheep.
Was it a ewe or a ram?
What do they call them when they're
Weather?
Yeah, is it a weather
with no
sheep?
balls?
I'm not a sheep expert.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so his name was Elliot.
Oh my goodness, like the dragon on Pete's Dragon.
Yeah, he was.
No, wait, that's the kid.
Not very friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we had Elliot and horses. Showed horses growing up. And then later on in my teen years, we got cattle. So we did beef cows, raised hogs, continue to show horses.
What'd you have for space, or where were you, and what was your property?
I'll give you two scenarios because my parents divorced and it changed.
Mm-hmm.
So early on, when the parents were married, we had 3 or 4 acres. I grew up in a log cabin that my dad built.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then the barn was right behind the house. We had a garden too. And the barn had four stalls, if I can remember. So we pretty much always had like 2, 3, 4 horses. And then a pasture out behind. And then when my parents divorced, my mom met my stepdad, who raised cattle in a dairy operation. And my mom, when she was in her youth and her young adulthood, she had milking goats and beef cows and hogs. And so they kind of got together and they decided to run a small beef operation. And my sister and I were probably, I think I was like 13 or 14. My sister was probably like 8 at that time. So we got, immersed into the world of cattle. We did 4-H as well, and we showed the cattle. My sister did more than I did because I kind of outgrew that. I did it like 17, 18, my steer project.
Did you do the whole like buzzing, like
the
clipping?
The whole clipping and everything. I will say I was a little bit princess.
That's all right.
During that time, so I had somebody else clip for me. I'm pretty sure. I don't really recall all of it. But I did show. I was totally nervous to do that. It was a world that I really had no idea about. I didn't grow up into it. I think I stepped into it, so it's definitely overwhelming. But yeah, and the barn that we had for that later on was the original dairy barn that my stepdad had. It was their family dairy barn, so I think it's like 90 feet long and by 30 or 40 wide with a gambrel style. You could store about 3,000 square bales up in the top.
Oh my goodness.
Small pasture out back. And we had hay fields that we did haying in the summer. But we curtained off, part of that, like half of it. And we built stalls for my horses and we had the lineup for the cows to be in. And, we had to do chores and we're responsible for doing that. And
where was that farm located?
So I grew up in North Berwick, Maine.
Oh, yeah.
and that both the properties that, the one that my parents had when they were, not before they were divorced, and then um, after they were both in Northbrook,
Mhm.
like it,
I love that
not far,
area.
not far from
Yeah.
each other, which is really cool. So yeah, I mean that's about kind of the animal reference and like growing up on a farm
Mhm.
that I have.
Yeah, I grew up on a farm, not with a barn that
Okay.
size. Um, but yeah, my dad built our house in the middle of the woods on a piece of property that he got from his family,
Oh, cool.
and I had horses, and we always had like one beef cow and um, chickens, ducks. I don't remember the duck's name, but I do remember he used to come into the house, so familiar.
Yeah, similar to
Yeah,
that.
yeah. We always went fishing and hunting and had a garden, and and pigs. We'd ride the pigs when they got
I
me.
did that too,
Yes,
right
yes.
down the aisle of the barn. It's like the pivotal moment
Yeah,
of my youth.
yeah, yeah. It was much more fun in the winter time because then you could fall in the snow because that happened.
Mm-hmm.
My father actually, I remember my father trying to ride the steer a few times. Yeah, it didn't work out well.
I can imagine.
So yeah, so being used to growing up outside
Right.
and
In nature.
taking care of animals and plants and all of that stuff is just something that I grew up with. But when I got my license, graduated high school, I was like, I am so done with this place. I'm going to the city, and um, that's what I did, and raised our first two kids in Midcoast, Maine,
Mm-hmm.
in Bath, and then decided. I mean, we moved a couple of times, um, but decided we wanted to be back here to raise Shiloh, and you know, I
Family
yeah,
land.
yeah, on
Yeah.
family land, and so it was. We actually came back here sooner than planned. We were gonna wait until Shiloh was right before kindergarten age. But then I got sick, so that's why we came
Yeah.
here um 5 years early, which I
Okay.
thank goodness
Right.
because something was always missing being in the city,
Mm-hmm.
and it was this.
So let's see. So like after high school, I graduated high school, went off to school and all of that stuff. But I left that behind, the
Mhm.
farming behind, um, to gain what education that I did decide to do. And I guess I should reference what I went for because it's relevant in my story as to why I, kind of came back to my farming roots. Um, so I went for medical assisting and then eventually I went to nursing school. So I was a full-time nurse um, in a variety of different fields. I won't even go into it, but um, and during, working as a nurse, about 2013, I got my first chicks.
Oh, we first chicks, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so my oldest was young. So we got to experience that whole thing together. It took me forever to convince my husband to let me get chicks. Um, so I was really thankful that finally I convinced him to do that. And then like once you start chickens and you have a garden and you go through all of the learning curves of owning chickens in a coop and how to successfully keep them laying eggs and rotating your chickens out and all the things, you just grow and you learn more and you do things. So then we eventually landed on hogs,
Mm-hmm.
having pigs.
Which are
Yeah.
easy overall.
Yeah, yeah, there's a short time frame,
Mm-hmm.
just for us we did spring and butcher in the fall like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people do, and that's what we decided to do. And then, my parents still had beef cows. So they still, even after us girls were gone, they still kept with that beef operation. Their lines, they still, the same breeding lines, and that my current cows can trace back to those, which is really cool. So we I decided on my own that I didn't want the expense and a large animal on the property. Cows take 18 months to 2 years sometimes to grow up, depending on what they are. They eat a lot too. So I
Eat and
decided,
poop.
right,
Poop and eat.
and poop everywhere. Oh my gosh. So I decided goats. Like, let's try meat goats. So I tried goat meat to see if that's something that I liked and I could cook and make it taste good and all of that. And I liked it. So you can really make goat meat taste however you want.
It's a red meat, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's a red meat. It's high protein. It's actually one of, like, across the globe, it's like one of the top red meats. And it's got high protein, which is great. So that's what I did. I researched goat breeds for a really long time, and in 2020, before the whole health thing, COVID thing happened, I arranged to have goats, and I got cashmere goats because they were a tri-purpose, so I thought that was really cool. Yeah, meat, milk, and fiber. So I just thought to have like a tri-purpose animal on the farm would be beneficial. So that's what I did, and I started my whole breeding program. And then my parents, I don't know exactly how I want to say this. My parents, their life, switched roles, I guess, as they stopped taking care of my stepdad's dad, and their life just changed. So they needed a place to be, and with their cows, and I invited them to my farm, and we farmed together. And that's when I got cows again in my life, and I remembered how much I loved them and how trainable they are, and they're so quick to learn, and they're personable, and they're warm, and I love to snuggle them. And my journey went from goats to beef cows, so then I had it all.
So we have little baby chicks.
Yep.
Then we get bigger goats. And
Oh,
then we
pigs.
Pigs, right?
Pigs.
You get pigs, then goats,
goats,
then cows.
then cows.
I don't know that you're going to be picking up any elephants or anything
No,
like that.
camels.
Yeah.
But then it also changed. Almost 2 years ago, I got a dairy cow. Like, it just, like, full fold came. Everything just came flooding back into my life, and got a dairy cow, and that just, it really kind of, I didn't need a lot anymore in society. Like, it just reduced where I spent my dollars was on my animals and not out at a grocery store or anything like that. So became more sufficient, which was really cool. And got a farm stand, and now we're
Such a cute farm stand.
Thank
building.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Someday I want one.
Yeah, you will. You will.
I feel like the spot across the street is great because it has a driveway and a flat spot. Right. So
be perfect.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, so when we got here, my first thing was getting the garden going and also getting perennials in.
Right.
Because
herbs,
they take forever.
Yes.
Well,
you did trees too, right?
Yeah, trees.
Yeah.
Apple, pear, cherry, apricot, and then fruit berries. Fruit berries? Berry bushes. Yeah, different berry bushes. Asparagus, which is this is the first year at harvest. So we started with the garden first, and then that was in 2021, and then the following spring, chicks, in come the chicks,
right?
And we've just done the same thing, where we all know chickens are a gateway drug.
Yeah.
So then we did, so then we got pigs and ducks, and then we got the geese. And the rabbits came rabbits, and then the turkeys came last.
I forgot to talk about rabbits.
Rabbits. Yeah. The rabbits.
Yeah. Which is kind of weird, not weird, but
Which
like
part?
that we got rabbits. Normally, some people will do chickens and then rabbits,
Mhm.
and then for both of us, the rabbits came after.
Later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny.
Yep, and I actually I was going to pick up some ducks from a woman locally at her homestead, and she said, just throwing this out there, but we're selling our bucks. When we had three, they had three bucks, and I knew that I had wanted Flemish giants. So it just worked out. It was like $150 for $3 and all three of their cages and setups and everything.
Yeah, I mean, how can you?
So I said yes, and then I ended up keeping Odin, and freezering the other
Yeah.
two bucks
Yeah.
because I'm not going to be that,
Right.
having that many does.
Right.
So anyway, I have now 3 does and a buck. So
cool.
yeah, which is probably gonna get some different blood in here this
Yep.
year. But
Yep, same.
yeah.
It's
But
cool.
the gardens every year, just expanding the gardens
Yes.
and putting in things that you don't have to mess with
Yeah.
all the time. I have so many herbs out there. I'm trying to get as many perennial herbs out
Yeah,
there as
and like the
humanly
medicinal
possible. Yeah.
ones too, as well. Like that's my goal is, year to year, you take so many and do for medicinal. So like this year, I started chicory last year, and I don't think that it really took off. So I might have to start that one again, and then marshmallow. That's a good one too. I mean, and I don't even have any echinacea, so that's another one I need.
That's all out there.
Yeah.
And the comfrey, remember?
Yeah, I've comfrey too. Yep. That does not take long. I remember getting comfrey a couple years ago, and it was just this little tiny bunch, and now it's like, boom,
which is awesome.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta figure out. So we have 20 or 24 grapevines out there, so I can have my own.
So exciting.
Yeah. So just gotta figure that out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Silvopasture this year.
Right.
And you're working on yours.
Yeah. We have come a long way from the beginning, so it kind of gives ourselves reference as to why we're here and why we can chat about things and share our stories and share our lessons and be relatable to other people that are trying to do the same thing.
Yep. And those are real short conversations, or these are real short conversations that we're having right now, because we have so many more.
Oh yeah.
We're so full.
Yep. So much to share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
lots
so
of
we will.
knowledge, trials and tribulations.
And so we will. So make sure to tune in for the next podcast.
For next week.
Yes, on next week.
Next week. Episode.
Yeah, episode 2. We're gonna be talking about last year's ups, downs, and what we have going on this year.
Right, and goals for this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the crooked fence they meet, tales of grief.